Back to the Dean Obeidallah show. Right now, very happy to have the congressional representative for the entire state of Vermont, Becca Balint, a Democrat. She serves in the House Judiciary Committee, House Budget Committee. You got a whole state. Like, you
Whole
can't,
state.
even though it's not my district. Someone comes over, like, it's not my district. Like, we are in the entire state as me. So it's good to have you on.
Yeah, what's so funny is sometimes Vermonters don't realize I have the whole district either. Like they do know, like intellectually, they know they only have one member of Congress, but then they forget. They're like, "Oh, what's your district?" I was like, "All of it, all
This
of
is
it."
it. Oh, by the way, we've talked before about the ties between Vermont and Canada and also the economic ties. So now
Yeah,
we're near the end of the summer. What have you seen when you look back at the summer? Was there an impact on tourism into your state?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. It was devastating, not just for Vermont, but also for New Hampshire and for Maine. All of these states that have northern borders with Canada. And it's not just a northern border. We have so many strong ties across the border. And actually this morning I was out for a run this morning. I was wearing a hat that a constituent gave me that was the Canadian, their slogan, elbows up, and that's just like elbows up, we're standing strong. And this is going to damage the relationship for a long time. They feel personally offended and aggrieved. Of course they do. They're a friend, they're an ally, they're a big trading partner. And the way that this administration has treated them is just not only is it disgusting, but it's also counterproductive. Why are you attacking your friends? This is the thing when people are like, oh, he's a deal maker. Like, no, no, he consistently makes unforced errors and it puts us in a worse situation in this country.
Deal maker is not the word. Convicted felon, that's correct.
That's true.
No, that definitely not. I hope Canada doesn't let him fly over their airspace today as he goes to Alaska to meet Russia. We all fear that he's going to give Alaska to Putin.
Well,
You
exactly. Well, so here's the thing. I was talking about this with my wife this morning. Before anything gets said at that summit, Putin has won. Putin has got, a mano a mano, meeting with the leader of the free world. He has elevated his stature. He has made Russia a bigger player now. They're having it on American soil. Putin has gotten everything that he wanted before he even opens his mouth. And why the people who are supposed to be advising the president on national security issues don't see this is just beyond me, except that they've all been promoted above their ability. But the person who should absolutely know better is Marco Rubio. But he's so busy pandering that he's forgotten whatever values he once had. But yeah, this is, when people say, well, isn't this a good thing? No, this is not a good thing. This is not a good thing.
It will not turn out well. I had Mary Trump on yesterday, who's
Okay.
a friend of mine, and she goes, it's going to go as bad as we fear and probably worse than we even can imagine right now. We talk about, you mentioned something, and I'm not even kidding about this. You mentioned Donald Trump, the leader of the free world, and I'm not sure he is.
I know.
I don't even mean the leader of the free world. I think he's the leader of the autocratic world.
Yeah.
I don't think his values are our values.
I really appreciate that. Yes.
And you said it was very jarring to hear that. I
Yeah.
haven't heard that in a while. I don't think it's right anymore.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, Dean. Actually, I was talking about this with a friend the other day that in now we're like 7-8 months in, he has undone 80 years of work around the globe. 80 years in 7 or 8 months. And you're right, he is no longer leading us as a country towards democracy, towards spreading First Amendment freedoms around the globe. No, it's not about that anymore. He has aligned himself with autocrats and authoritarians. And you're right, it is really jarring. And I'm glad you brought it up.
No, because I haven't heard anyone say that in a while. That's all. It hasn't come up. And then here, I'm like, I don't feel that that's what we are. I don't think he is. I mean, I'm talking about Representative Becca Balint. So now you've got Donald Trump against the will of the mayor and the attorney general of Washington, D.C., sending troops. They have checkpoints. I had Angela Corazon on yesterday for Media Matters who works in D.C. because we have checkpoints. It's like the West Bank. Like there are checkpoints. It's just showing up anywhere now with federal officers, and you have to have your ID with you all the time. This is the United States of America now. And what is very frustrating is watching corporate media try to frame Democrats. It's like, well, Democrats, you don't want to seem soft on crime. This has nothing to do with crime.
That's right.
That's so frustrating to hear corporate media say Donald Trump doesn't care about Democrats. Like, oh, I hope they have no crime. He told us he hated us last month. He doesn't, it's not about crime, it's about control.
Yes.
Protection, it's oppression. That's what this
Yes.
is. And I don't know why corporate media fails so horribly in trying to frame this as Democrats, you don't want to seem soft on crime. This is about another move in the autocratic fascist playbook.
I couldn't agree more. And the other piece of this that I was talking with a constituent last night, and he was talking about the when you couple what's happening in DC right now, and when you see what happened with Border Patrol trying to crash, Gavin Newsom's press conference yesterday, like, right? It's about control and intimidating people into submission. But this constituent last night was flagging for me. He said, as you know, this horrible bill that passed that devastated Medicaid, that, cut food assistance, all this thing. It also supersized the ICE budget. Mm-hmm. And he was saying to me, my biggest fear is that they are going to use that, couple it with all of the AI billionaires, essentially, who play in this field to turn it into a surveillance state, right? And so, like, when you look at, as you were just talking about, checkpoints now in our nation's capital, when you look at him deploying troops essentially against his own people, right? That is what autocrats do. And so it is, I think it's just the first sort of salvo into, what it is that they're tending to do long term. And, Stephen Miller is all about surveillance, control, who's a real American, who's not. And this constituent really got me to thinking, how is all that money going to be spent? It's not going to just be spent on boots on the ground, which is bad enough.
Right.
Right? Because we're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. So
I think, your choice of the word salvo, I'm not sure if that was just metaphorical, but on my show, we talk about this, that we're at war. And I don't know if everyone, and Kathy Hochul, the governor, used that exact term a little bit ago, and I was happy because I've written that in articles, that's the mindset. Autocratic leaders often pick enemies outside of their own country. Trump has picked us.
Yes.
The migrants are Democrats. And it's a Cold War, thank God. It's not a violent war right now.
Not yet. Yeah.
I know you were a history teacher, right? I mean, like, people bring up different things about ICE, but I think they're not exactly the same, but there's parallels to the Brownshirts of Hitler's. There are parallels to use of intimidation. And yesterday, outside of Newsom's thing with the ICE agents there, and Kristi Noem, exact timing on Fox News that it came out, and it's a real punch in the face, and we're showing them, like, who are you showing? What do you do? What is happening in America?
Yes. No, it is. I have used that same terminology, that it is akin to the Brownshirts. It's about creating your own personal army, and it's not about protecting us, right? Absolutely not. It's not about protecting us. It's about protecting power, protecting his power and his control. And, I brought this up. We had a shadow hearing a couple weeks ago before we were on the August recess, on looking at all of the horrible stories coming out around ICE and Border Patrol, and also local law enforcement violating people's First Amendment rights, right? And as you and I have talked about on the show, everyone in this country, regardless of status, is entitled to the First Amendment rights guaranteed by the Constitution, full stop. And we were talking with a number of experts in the field. And one of the things that really stayed with me after that hearing was thinking about, it is meant to dehumanize, like, these kinds of actions, right, are meant to dehumanize other Americans. But in the process of, like, asking ICE, Border Patrol, and now the National Guard, essentially to do a job that they were not, right, signing up to do, you were also day by day dehumanizing them. They are inch by inch. It's like the frog in the boiling water. They are becoming inured to being asked to do things that are actually not in line with their values, not in line with their job description. and then it becomes normalized. And I don't know if you saw, there's a dramatic moment with the press conference yesterday with Gavin Newsom. The press, I don't remember the exact question that he was asked, but it was essentially like, you know, don't you feel like, you're inappropriate using this kind of, tweet to try to, make a point, right? The all caps, the parroting. He's like, I can't believe that you're upset with me shining a light on this
Right.
and showing you how jarring it is when you have done nothing about this for years. Like,
Mhm.
and that's it, to your point. Where is our robust press right now? Where are they, Dean?
I, and that's the question. And I think it's independent media now that is picking up the slack, because corporate media has so submitted to Donald Trump, not the journalists. There's some great journalists, but they're
Yes.
navigating in a world where the executives are in the corporate world and don't want Donald Trump signing an executive order going after them, or they like the tax cut for the wealthy. I mean, there's a lot of things going on. We're dealing with the big corporate media outlets. So
Yes.
it's the time for independent media to rise up. And ironically, I work in corporate media, but we have the freedom of independent media. At least we've had up to now. We've never had an issue, kind of remarkable.
Right.
And plus, I do independent media stuff like Substack and on YouTube and things like that.
Exactly.
But that's the future. I think it's us collectively getting our message out together. And all of this is tied in. Look at Gavin Newsom was speaking about the Republicans redistricting in Texas. Trump
Yes.
demands that you rig the election because his stuff is so popular that he has to rig the election. Like, you would have to rig the election if people like what you're doing. So he might be a little cognitive decline, but he still gets this. He's not
Yes.
popular, and he knows they're going to lose the midterm and they're going to lose the House and maybe even the Senate now. Sherrod Brown running in Ohio. We're more excited now. So
Yes.
what should, Governor Newsom talked about yesterday, the idea of a map on the ballot. It'll be sort of if they do that in Texas, it's going to go into effect.
Yeah.
What do you think? Is that the way to go? Do you hope other Democratic governors follow suit?
Yes, I do. And look, I got into it with one of my reporters back home in Vermont yesterday. And because I said, look, they're not playing by the rules.
Right.
And are we going to continue, right, to show up playing by a set of rules that the other team isn't playing by and wonder why we keep losing? I said, look, asking the governor of Texas to find him 5 more seats is exactly the same as after the 2020 election saying to secretaries of state, find me 10,000 more votes or whatever it was. It is the same thing. And so this reporter was like, well, gee, Becca, 2 wrongs don't make a right. I was like, all right, let's be clear. If they're going to punch, if they're going to go nuclear, we're going nuclear. And I want to see it in New York and I want to see it in California. And and hopefully, right, when you call their bluff, right, when you say, no, no,
Mhm.
we're not going to just be, the people who continue to take it on the chin over and over and over again. Do I think it's good for the country or the democracy for us to be in this kind of electoral, arms race? No. But in this moment, if they're trying to disenfranchise voters, right, then we have to fight fire with fire and try to, with force, then try to dial it back. But I don't see how you can make the case of like, they're going to break all the rules, but we're going to continue to do what we've been doing and allow them to cheat their way into keeping control in the House of Representatives.
I, I agree. It's not, norms are a word based on historical actions. Those are gone. They've destroyed them.
They
You
have
know,
destroyed
it's
them.
like playing a baseball team and they go, well, we get 4 strikes now. Like, what? How do you get 4 strikes? Well, the norm is 3 strikes. We're getting 4. Well, we're going to go to 4 strikes too. What do you think of that? Or
Right.
anything, football, you tackle them, they get back up and they keep running. Like, you can't do that. Well, we're doing that now. It's like whatever sports analogy you want to find, if
Exactly.
they can do, they're doing it. We have to evolve.
And
And
the other thing is, Dean, we have to put these Republicans in New York and in California, we got to put them in the hot seat and say,
yeah,
why don't you open your damn mouth
yeah.
and go to the speaker and go to the president and say, this isn't helping. We're going to lose our seats. Like, you think that this, right? But they don't have the courage to do that. But so we got to keep tightening the screws until they do. Because I'll say it behind the scenes, folks, the California Republicans are not excited about this. The
No,
California New Yorkers are not excited about this, right?
there's nine
The Republican New Yorkers,
right,
rather. Yeah.
right. There's 9 Republican seats in California. They can take 5 or 6, 4 or 5, maybe even 6. New York, I think we have 7 Republicans. We can easily read the way they've done it in Texas, literally just drawing straight lines around the state. You want to do that? We can get rid of all of you. You could have no Republicans left in our state. That's not the way it should be, but that's what you force us to. And you're right, Republicans. Right. That's why I was thinking like Democratic AGs in blue states, should, when Trump's going after law firms and companies saying, if this continues and we're going to do the same thing here and we don't want to do it, or then maybe Republican donors and CEOs go to Trump, you can't keep doing this. Well, because right now they pay no price, but this is the redistricting is number one. And that's our they're trying to rig it. It's so dangerous. I view 2026 as the Battle of Gettysburg in the Civil War. If we lose that, I don't even want to envision where we go. We have to turn the tide there, and we march from there. I'm sorry, Representative Becca Balint, I saw you posted something that didn't get a lot of press, that the trans service members in the Air Force are being forced out with no retirement benefits. Yeah. People who served our nation, and it barely got a blip. Share a little bit, because you brought attention to it, and I saw it on your feed.
So look, my dad was in the military. He served in the Army, came here as an immigrant, was able to go to college essentially through ROTC, right? They didn't come here with anything. They basically came with the shirts on their back. It was an opportunity for him to get an education, but also he served his country proudly. He didn't love being in the Army. Don't get me wrong. He always says, whenever we used to, it was funny. Whenever I was a kid, we would invite him out camping. He's like, I've slept in tents enough. Okay. Your mother can take you. Okay. But here's the thing. People who volunteer to serve, right? We don't have a draft right now. These are people who have sacrificed so much to give to their country. And now, because of their gender identity, not only are they being dismissed summarily after all of the service they've given, they're not going to get the benefits coming to them. I mean, this is it. This is about continuously, from this administration, deciding who's a legitimate American and who's not. That's what this is about. And this is another example. And I understand, I always say this whenever I talk about trans issues or issues related to gender identity. I know from talking with enough constituents, depending on your age group, younger folks under 30 tend to have an easier time talking about these things. Older voters, they're still working on it. What I want to say to you is just take a beat, take a step back and say, is it right to treat any American service person in this way when they have served honorably? That's what we're talking about. And the answer is categorically no. And do not let them suck you into a cultural war about gender identity. Of course, I believe, we all have a responsibility to stand up for trans people in our communities. I've been a fierce defender of trans people and their families, will continue to do that in the House. But look, if you are unclear about what this all means, hey, respect your neighbor. That's what it's about. Respect your neighbor. And if somebody is willing to serve our country with distinction, they are entitled to their benefits. It's just disgusting is what it is, Dean. It's disgusting.
It's unbelievable. Because at one point, remember, they were like, oh, we're trying to protect teenagers. Well, what does that have to do with someone who served in the U.S. Air Force for years and has earned their benefits, and now they want to strip them and again, create a segregated society where it's the approved Americans are in one group. And I've had many guests on about the disability, the war on the disabled. I had Representative Latifah Simon on. She comes on about every month. But my friend,
I love Latifah. She's so fun to serve with.
She is feisty as hell.
She is feisty.
She's
in the best way. Yeah.
So,
we have some good laughs together.
But my friend Steve Way was born muscular dystrophy, came on and said they want to exterminate them. This is so much of the right-wing playbook, transgender, if you're gay, you should have less rights. They're coming for marriage equality. We can see that now. That's coming towards us. The disabled, they want to eliminate them or segregate them to another part, take them out of schools. Everything's right-wing. And even that's why the Smithsonian and Trump censoring it is part of the playbook. It's not on their own. I keep begging people, connect the dots. this is page after page of the right-wing playbook.
It is. It's absolutely textbook. And that's why we have to have our leaders of organizations, of news agencies, of whether they're in the business world, whether they're leading a university, or whether you're a governor. You've got to stick your neck out. You think you're not eventually going to be in the crosshairs? Even the people he's made deals with are still in the crosshairs. Like, people, do you think you're the exception? They all think they're the exception. Like, there's no exception here, right? No, it's, I wanted to ask you something because a constituent asked me this the other night, and I've been noodling over this so much. So there's all these folks that they interview on the news. It's like, so and so is married to an undocumented, immigrant. So and so is, married to an asylee, and
Mhm.
they voted for Trump. And then they go back and interview them, right? And they're like, yeah, I feel bad that my wife's being deported, but like, I still don't regret my vote, right? Like, and this has like been making the news rounds. And like, I've been trying to sort of make sense of this. Certainly, the press chases these stories, right?
Right, right,
Right. I'm sure there's like, for every one of those, there's 10 that are like, what the hell did I do? Like,
right,
right.
right, exactly.
But like, I think there's this, it's a human failing that we have, right? That we can't admit our mistakes. We have a cognitive dissonance. But I wanted to get your sense of like those sort of like, even when it's staring you in the face, what's going on there?
I think, well, you might be missing, some people might not like their spouse. So this is like, that's what it's like, oh, they're taking her away. This is great. Or their husband's away. They're taking, like, finally, I have some freedom. So maybe you're missing, it's much more
You
one-on-one.
bring up an excellent point, Dean.
It's
An
interpersonal.
excellent
It's
point.
not big
Oh
picture.
man.
So you've got, all right, so you've got the bucket of people that might not like their spouse,
Yep.
but but others, of course, I don't know if it's a failure to address and accept the fact they made a mistake. It's a deeper issue, or they still think at the end of the day it's all going to work out. I don't
Yeah.
know if that's at play.
Yeah.
It's hard to understand why that is, and maybe because they're in the media and they have to say it. Where if they're talked to in the media, and they don't want to be embarrassed because a lot of the
Sure.
people in the MAGA world, it's become their identity. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
know if cult's the right word or not. It
Yeah.
might, but it becomes their identity. And so if you're going to undermine and you're going to say something bad about the group you're in, there's no other place you can go to.
Yes.
And so it's your self-worth as a person. And maybe
Yes.
that's part of it. Like, well, I have to stay with the team because I have nothing else. I'm
Yeah.
not going to become a Democrat. Democrats don't like me. I hate Democrats. Like, and that's
Right.
parroting
Yeah.
them, folks. I'm not saying that myself.
No, no,
So
no, 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 no.
that's
And I mean, I think you're right. And I was talking with a psychology professor who teaches at Amherst College, and she was saying that we are thinking about the political parties and specifically around MAGA right now in the wrong way. It's really much more like a religion now,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it is about what happens when you feel completely, as you say, cast out from the group. And I think that's the struggle in this country right now is how do we figure out how to bring those folks back into like the back into community. Like, so in Vermont, like it's tiny, like people know each other, right? Like,
Right.
how do you just like not even bring them back into a political discussion? How do you bring them back into like actually we're Vermonters and Americans first, and this other stuff, it has perverted your sense of like how we can connect with one another as human beings.
And that's a deeper question. And we can all be hopeful that when Trump is gone, that's one
Yeah.
look at it. Others are much more like, we're never going to connect with them again. And we're going to continue living in this country with this unease. And we just make our friends based on the religion we're in. I don't think as a Democrat, I ever view being a Democrat as my religion. I'll never have what they have. Like
Yeah.
him, I think to me, cult's not right. I think it's more religion is the right thing. But last thing, are there any
Yeah.
other issues that people in Vermont are bringing up to you that are not things getting a lot of press that you're like, this should be getting a little bit more coverage?
Honestly, as you know, all politics are local, right? So there is this general, I don't even just say unease. Like people are so anxious right now, Dean.
Mhm.
Like really, like people will come up to me. I'm not sleeping. I'm very concerned. And I had this woman the other day say to me, elderly woman. She's like, I've been marching my whole life. I've been going to the thing. She's like, now I'm at home. I'm taking care of my husband who, has mobility issues. And so we were talking for a long time. She's just like a lovely human being. But then she said, Becca, I need you to help me channel my rage into something productive. Like the number of times I hear that, I'm about to write a Substack on it. I think
You
channeling
should.
your rage into something productive. I hear that over and over again. And so I've been saying to Vermonters, pick one topic. You can't, like, you're going to make
Yeah,
yourself
yeah.
crazy. Like pick the one topic, do a deep dive, become an expert on that. The other thing is really having these casual conversations with people throughout the day. People think of those as sort of like throwaway chit chat when you're getting your coffee. The research shows like it helps you feel less lonely. And I think,
Huh.
I've been talking to Vermonters about that. The other thing that, locally, what is really activating people right now is the issue of housing. We have a horrible housing crisis in Vermont, Dean, and it's not just Vermont, but we really feel it acutely, and I know that this is a result of policy decisions over the last few decades that really have put us in a bad situation. And you can talk about we haven't built enough housing. Absolutely true. Haven't built enough housing. But we've also had really, really unfair tax policy. And we have had people earning less money, right? So, like, you can build more housing, but if people still can't afford to buy it, right, it's a problem. So, like, really looking starkly at the economic inequality in this country. But the number one issue I hear from folks under 30 in Vermont, I don't think I'm going to be able to stay here and live here. I hear it from my own kids. I got two teenagers, and they're
Right.
just like, I don't see unless something changes. And so I'm going to keep working on this issue. I know it's not just Vermont. It is something I think the Democratic Party needs to lean in on in a big way in the midterms and the next presidential election is really getting homes for everyone. I mean, I think we got to
That's
bring working people back to the center of what we're doing here.
and before we started, I mentioned that I saw Zoran Mondani last night, and everything is about affordability. Everything. That's
Absolutely.
really the only issue he talks about. People want to talk about a million things. He wants about one thing: make
Yes.
New York City more affordable with ideas out of the box. Can he achieve them all? We don't know, but at least he's thinking about this issue that's affecting all of us, and that's what's important. But Representative Ballot, thanks for spending a lot of time with us. I really appreciate it.
I always love to.
And I look forward to chatting with you in the future. Best of have some fun the last couple of weeks of the summer, I hope.
Yeah, I got 3 cords of wood to stack, but
Oh,
I'm gonna
good luck with
I'm gonna
that.
try to find some fun time in there too, bringing more joy.
All right, take care. Have a great day.
Appreciate